My heart's on fire. Your love burns in me. Eternal is your flame. I'm calling out your name. You lift me higher, rising up on wings.
Right. Well, thank you again for joining me. We're now in our fourth session covering the subject of having sex with your boyfriend. We're looking at a detailed study here in the New Testament on the subject of fornication or sexual immorality. So today's session, this session right now, is going to be if you want to have sex, get married. Paul's simple instruction here. So let's look at this in 1 Corinthians chapter 7. This actually, I'm highlighting these two verses in particular, but let's just look at the context here. Chapter 7, verse 1 says, "Now concerning the things which you wrote to me." Notice this wording here. "It is good for a man not to touch a woman." That is a euphemism for sexual immorality. But I just want to say something right there real quick. Boyfriend and girlfriend, those of you who are watching me, if you start touching, you're not very far away from sexual immorality. Because once you start touching, the fires start burning, and you're not going to finish until you're done having sex. So be careful with the touching. Verse 2, "Nevertheless, because of sexual immorality, let each man have his own wife, and let each woman have her own husband." So how can you have sex? Get a wife, get a husband. Verse 3, "So let the husband render to his wife the affection due her, and let the wife, likewise also the wife to her husband." So the husband has to give sexual to the wife and sex to the wife to the husband. "The wife does not have authority over her own body, but the husband does, and likewise the husband does not have authority over his own body, the wife does." So notice there, the only way you have access to somebody else's body is if you're married, husband and wife. Doesn't say boyfriend, girlfriend, or anybody else. The only one that has authority is the husband or the wife who has access to the other person's body. So we see clearly Paul teaching here the only way to have sex, sexual intercourse, is between a husband and a wife. Go to verse 9. "But if they cannot exercise self-control, let them marry." Greek imperative, very strong. If you cannot hold back, you're starting to kiss, you're starting to touch, you're starting to get out of control. Well, what you need to do is get married. "For what? It is better to marry than to burn with passion." You light a fire once you start getting past a certain point, and you need to get married in order for you to consummate the marriage. So, the only sex that is acceptable to God is between a husband and a wife. No other situation, no boyfriend, girlfriend, nobody outside of the marriage, no lesbian, no homosexuality relationship. The only sexual intercourse that God permits is between a husband and a wife. I want to say this to everyone here. Don't elope. So many Christians do this, and if you did that, well, I'm not trying to offend you here today, but so many Christians, they can't control themselves. They have to have sex, so they'll run to Reno, and they'll run to Vegas, and they'll go see Reverend Al at the wedding chapel. And you guys remember Reverend Al here in Fresno, over here on Kings Canyon. He had a little wedding chapel. Reverend Al, $75. You can walk in, get married, walk out, and go have your sex. But don't go to the Elvis wedding chapel. Do it God's way. Invite your friends. Have a powerful wedding. Get counseling from your pastor. Do it in front of God's eyes. Get the approval of everybody. Have there be agreement. Have there be a joyful thing. Take pictures so you can show your family later on when you have kids. I mean, do it God's way. Be patient. Exercise self-control. Do it the way the Lord requires. And it'll be a real blessing to you. So don't run and see Reverend Al. Go and get married the right way. You know why? When people start doing stuff like that, they're cheapening the marriage institution. It's not right. We don't want to go to Elvis's wedding chapel. We want to do it the right way. So if you want to have sex, get married is the simple instruction Paul gives us here in 1 Corinthians chapter 7. When you look at your boyfriend or your girlfriend, and I'm just going to use this as believers, you're dating a believer, you're with somebody who knows the Lord, you need to keep in mind that your girlfriend's body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. And she belongs to God. She doesn't belong to you. And that's the instruction, right, that we have finishing. The verses just before chapter 7 was this whole thing that your body has been bought with a price. You are the temple of the Holy Spirit. And I love this verse here also in chapter 7, and I call this the singles verse. Those verses there, verses 32, 33, 34, are for singles, Christian singles. And I lived out of those verses for many years as a Christian single before I married my wife. But I just want to look at the verse here, verse 34, that speaks specifically to the single Christian woman. It says, the unmarried woman who's single cares about the things of the Lord. Her whole focus is on the Lord. And she says that here's what she's focused on, that she may be holy both in her body and in her spirit. So that is a very important holiness in your body and holiness in your spirit. Not just spiritual things, but your body is being kept holy for the Lord. And so this is very, very powerful. And God expects both the man and the woman to be virgins when they come to the wedding altar. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. But I want to say how powerful that is. When we come into a wedding relationship, we have a proper wedding before God and the congregation and your friends and your family, and then you consummate the marriage on wedding night, and you enter into this blood covenant with your wife, your husband. What a powerful thing it is to be virgins at the time of marriage. What a beautiful thing God has instituted for us. And so it is a call of God for both the man and the woman to be holy, not only in your spirit, but also in your body. All right, in the next teaching, we're going to look at something very, very important. We're going to back up again here to 1 Corinthians 6, and we're going to see that your body was made for the Lord and not for sexual immorality.
You light my fire, light my fire, light my fire.